Did Wizards of the Coast finally do something right? Yesterday, we got a whole slew of changes for the Commander format on the MTG Weekly episode, but we also got a big announcement for competitive Magic. The Magic Limited Championship. Qualifications are in 2026 with the event in 2027 at an undisclosed date and location, but there's a lot to break down about this announcement in regards to product, in regards to scheduling, qualifications, the format, everything. We're going to break it down today because there is a lot of positive with this, but there are some things that everyone needs to keep in mind going into thinking about the future of competitive Magic. $500,000 in prize pools and the top 8 qualifies for World. The Magic Limited Championship is a net positive for competitive Magic overall. It's the type of thing that the enfranchised player has been asking for, albeit a long list at this point. Better support for Standard, any support if at all for Pioneer, and just more events happening in less represented regions. I've talked about South America before, but a lot of things don't need to just be US centric, especially me up in Canada. We don't get a lot of these kind of bigger Magic cons and everything happening up here, and all these big content creators just keep circle jerking in their own little areas. It'd be nice if I could cross the border without what I feel like is risking my life. So when it comes to these bigger events, I'd like some of them up here up the north, maybe some in the UK, even just in SCA in general. All these other regions in the world that have an ample amount of Magic players out there and a big beloved fan base, it's nice to provide support for them. That's going to be one of my bigger criticisms. That's obviously worth it, but when it comes to the success of something like this, if we see Magic Limited Championship succeed, then we could potentially see them happen down the line in other regions. So that's always something worth kind of bringing up. Now, when it comes to the qualifications of something like this, there's not a lot of information that we have, but we know that there are going to be digital avenues for this, and there's going to be physical in-play avenues for this. So that's going to be nice. There are going to be limited events, potentially constructed events that lead us into this, but there's also going to be ways through Magic Arena and likely Magic Online to get there. Now, there are qualifiers here mentioned for Spotlight Series, Magic Cons, and Magic Arena. It would just be very weird if Magic Online wasn't supported here. And that's going to be something that I'm going to bring up later in the video with specifically Power Cube, which I think is relevant because there has been a relatively big push for limited as of recently, and the signs are there. So let's talk about Magic Limited Championship, the pros and cons, how we get here, and the overall feeling I have about this. Now, firstly, you know, it's nice that, you know, we have enfranchised players like Druid here, a Canadian resident that recently did well at a PT, to be able to fly to a Pro Tour like event with just a pack of sleeves. That is actually a very relevant thing. You don't have to go last minute and kind of put together some cards that you're missing, that 1 to 2 sideboard piece that you don't have, or that spicy main board in the 60 that you're looking to spike a tournament with. You don't need any of that. You just go in with a pack of sleeves, and that's really nice. You have multiple ways to practice that do honestly cost money. It's not just you buy one deck and you go into events over and over again, maybe through like the arena ladder or something like that. But you do have the ability to just draft over and over and over again. The problem is you don't get to start doing that from now. So there are relevancies in trying to kind of prepare for a standard environment where you know when the next ban window is, and if this was a standard event, maybe the ban window was after this tournament, and so you know at least a couple months beforehand that that is going to be the format. Where this becomes a bit of a problem is the format itself. What set is this going to align itself with? When is that set going to be released? When do people have access to that set? Is it going to be a mixed set where it's going to be 2 draft environments in one? Is it even going to be just limited? Is it going to be pick 2? Is it going to be sealed? What type of limited is it going to be? These are all questions that are worth asking, and I hope it's starting to get the brain going on where Wizards might kind of falter a little bit in terms of something like this. Firstly, let's take this from a Universes Beyond angle. When it comes to something like the sets relevant in the year of 2027, we don't have any inkling of what's going on with that, but we can maybe make some assumptions on goodwill from Wizards of the Coast. This is our lineup for 2026, and we have 4 Universes Beyond and 3 Universes Within. We know that the Lorwyn set was originally kind of swapped for the Avatar set, and honestly, that was probably a good idea. It had some constructed kind of things happen where now there's going to be a period of time where the Shocklands rotate separately, whereas if Lorwyn was in the year of 2026, the Shocklands would have just rotated together, making mana bases a bit more uniform for all 10 color pairings. That's neither here nor there at this point. The reason I say it was a good idea, because Lord knows if you had Avatar next year and you had 5 Universes Beyond sets and only 2 in-universe, Honestly, you know what? I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say anything because people are already probably going to be mad that I made like a sub US politics comment already. People already kind of come at me for being a little bit doom and gloom, but I think we all know the community sentiment and how people are going to feel if there was 5 Universes Beyond versus kind of 2. Now, with that in mind, there is a majority of Universes Beyond in 2026. I would like to believe that Wizards of the Coast, especially if they're able to make a change a year in advance in terms of changing the lineup of things, I think that they would be okay with putting in 4 in-universes sets and 3 Universes Beyond sets. Maybe, maybe not. I would just hope that is the direction that they would take based on community feedback right now, especially with Spider-Man not doing so well. I think they can make a prediction that at least Marvel superheroes would do a little bit better. But the TMNT set that also got announced here, that notably this is an older image that is going to be this kind of March Universes set, we know is going to be a smaller set. So clearly we are okay with getting Universes Beyond product that are smaller sets. Spider-Man was a smaller set, under 200 cards, that was filled up to be a bigger one. TMNT is going to be something similar to that. So these are the type of environments that people aren't a fan of at all. These are the pick 2 environments where we have limited archetypes overall, and the enfranchised drafter, the enfranchised limited player in general, is just not a fan of playing these environments. It's not designed well together. And so we're already going to see a repeat of that when it comes to TMNT. Will we see a repeat of that with the Universes Beyond sets in 2027? And will that mean that we potentially have less Universes Beyond to try and make up for the goodwill of, or the goodwill lost of 2026? I'm hoping so, yes. But you know what? We could also see, you know, numbers go up of Final Fantasy and see that The Hobbit and Star Trek and all that stuff, heck, even Marvel superheroes just being an over-encompassing set, just pushing things up even more. Now, when it comes to limited resources, episode 823, a lot of people were well aware of this, the Spider-Man Sunset show. And so for those of you that don't know, Limited Resources, a big limited podcast, of course, helmed by 2 folks, one of them notably LSV. They did their Sunset episode, which they usually do closer to the end of that set cycle. They did this really early, as like literally the 3rd episode in of that set, because they didn't want to play pick 2 draft anymore. It was so bad in their experience that they were okay with sunsetting the set in their mind and focusing on limited of other sets, which is kind of absolutely insane, because the #1 resource of limited, high level limited and heuristics of that format, that show is saying screw pick 2 draft. Screw these sets that are not designed well, which we're at least getting a couple more of, if not just Spider-Man and TMNT, potentially at least one more of, where we have all these IPs that maybe are shots in the dark. They're really meant for an older audience. How many people are really interested in TMNT? Spider-Man is one thing, but TMNT, Furbies, these are an older audience. This is like a member berries reach at a Magic player base sample size that is 30 plus, 35 plus. This isn't the Zoomers. These aren't necessarily the Commander players that are getting onboarded into the game. The newer players that maybe don't have the context of all of this. Now, that's a big assumption there. There obviously are people of an unk age that are being brought into the game of Magic the Gathering, but that doesn't mean that that's all of them. I think we can make an assumption that based on some of these Universes Beyond, a newer and younger crowd is coming into Magic, with Magic becoming accessible and more so in some ways, while becoming less accessible and pushing people out in others. So the whole idea of pick 2 draft, pushing out the kind of more enfranchised player, and we're still getting pick 2 draft specifically in the Universes Beyond set. What does that mean for limited in general? We know that that's the Universes Beyond angle of it, but we have been getting a big push for limited in general. So for example, we have the Arena Powered Cube. Now, a lot of people have a lot of controversial opinions of this. I think this is a really cool way to introduce new cards into the Arena format. Specifically down here, we have like a whole list of them. We're getting cards like Preordain, Pyrokinesis, Fire Blast, Leovolt, you know, the absolute chaos that Timeless already is, the jank format that format already is, it will become even more jank. But this is a cool environment to get a Vintage Cube-esque limited environment onto there. The problem is that this is kind of leeching players away from Vintage Cube, or potential players of Vintage Cube, from the MTGO client. And the MTGO client has been doing a lot of great work in terms of not only improving the platform in some ways, or trying to with all this legacy bug code, but also trying to push cube in different ways, having different creators curate their cubes, different iterations of vintage cube. There's been a big push for limited in general across digital Magic. And they've tried that with in-person Magic with Pick 2 Draft, trying to create a more accessible Magic format. I think they kind of just realized that you can't have a traditional in draft environment because the set is kind of Doodoo Kaka, aka Spider-Man. But in general, there is more limited product overall, and more ways to engage with limited. What does this mean in terms of combining with Universes Beyond? Well, here's my overall conspiracy theory with something like this, right? And I think actually in general, I have to rearrange these because that's not what I want to get to. So we're gonna start with the conspiracy. So my conspiracy is that if we push limited in person, right, we are now getting enfranchised players who anecdotally, as of, you know, the Magic Twitterverse, in YouTube comments and everything, and through other content creators talking about it, are probably less involved or don't like Universes Beyond as much. They are probably the 25 to 30 plus crowd, more disposable income. If you are a limited player, you have on average access to more money. You are probably not a commander player. You have the resources and time to go draft, have 8 friends to go draft, have money to throw at drafts over and over again, digital and in person. That is not the average Magic player, in my opinion. Right? The average Magic player may have that time, but would rather spend it socially in Commander, which is also another reason why they may have pushed Pick 2 Draft, because Pick 2 Draft is a way to have limited games within a 4-player Commander pod. You don't need 8 people. You can just go with 1 pod. So it is a way to push product onto the enfranchised player that may not like that product overall. So if we want to then get those players to sell more or buy more of that product and practice with that product, what better way than create a limited Pro Tour like competition with over $500,000 in prize pool? Get it in people's mind, have it in 2027 to plan it, especially because you have everything lined up for 2026 already, and get people involved in the limited environment upcoming. Get them purchasing more product and packs of Magic the Gathering, have it come off shelves, because right now the people buying Magic the Gathering largely are scalpers, the collector boosters, the things that are moving product are the scalpers. There are regular people opening packs and everything, but the whole idea of buying singles over time has kind of pushed this rhetoric of, you know, product not being opened as much by the regular consumer and more so by the scalper. And so the scalpers are not opening up this product necessarily, they're selling it resealed, and so product isn't being opened as often. Cards aren't flooding the market, cards are more expensive. So in order to maybe help bring that down, and as well as get people more involved in limited, get the enfranchised player to buy more product, and that enfranchised player can then pass that on to maybe the less enfranchised player, the mid grinder, to then focus on a new tournament. They don't have to worry about an environment like Standard or Pioneer or Modern that has broken deck A, broken deck B, purchasing hundreds of $1,000s worth of cards to just participate in a format where your deck might just get banned out. You are in a limited environment where things aren't necessarily going to change. Things aren't really going to get banned. You are going to have to adapt around certain things. And so you curate a highly competitive environment. Now, this would have been really great with the Final Fantasy set, but I think this is just a cash grab to get people to buy more product. Now, okay, let me be honest here. As I said in the beginning of the video, I think this is a net positive thing for competitive Magic the Gathering. I think that's true overall. I still think my conspiracy hat, tinfoil hat, is still on. And I believe this is actually still a way to get people to buy product, which might not be a bad thing. Because I mean, look, Wizards of the Coast, you need to purchase things to get, you know, Wizards of the Coast to like make more product, right? At the end of the day, if you don't actually buy product, it probably just, it honestly just hurts the LGS before anybody else, because the LGS is going to buy that product from the distributors. And so the distributors can then, you know, go back to Wizards of the Coast and report these numbers. Wizards of the Coast has made their money. You voting with your wallet actually hurts the LGS, the third spaces and the places you have to play, before it hurts Wizards of the Coast. So really just think about that first. Secondly, selling that product probably is just a good way to maybe have Wizards of the Coast print more of that product, so all these scalpers aren't taking it all. You have more access to product, so you can have more product as price support or whatever. You know, it doesn't just have to be store credit or cash or whatever. The product actually does matter, and the chaff that gets kind of introduced at tables. Like, you ever been to an LGS after a draft night or something? There's all this draft chaff all over the tables. The LGS picks it up, and you know, they kind of add it to their pools and everything. It's nice to have more singles and stuff like that. And with the potential increase in the power levels of uncommons, which we've been seeing over time, the power level of some of these red uncommons, stock up and into the flood maw, all that stuff, like the power level of these uncommons, which appear more often than rares and mythics, probably also helps with more draft being involved, because you will have more chaff involved, more people not knowing that these cards are actually good in a constructed environment because they're just practicing for these limited events. And so people will just be having more singles involved into the market. Also, the limited side of things, when it comes to the tournament level, to have a big tournament event probably means there's going to be a bigger push for limited in 2027. We already do have limited events in terms of spotlight series and just big competitive events like that. Maybe we get the same amount or a little bit more going into that. We know at least that this limited event has a Worlds invite involved in it. So it'll likely happen before Worlds, and it might not happen right next to Worlds because you want your consumer to also save a little bit of money to try and attend both. So this might actually happen earlier in the year. And my fear is that it hopefully doesn't get involved with Star Trek. Like if we kind of back up with the sets here, Star Trek is the last set in November. Hopefully this environment or this tournament happens with the January set, which is likely going to be an in-universe because you want to stagger, right? You got in, out, in, out, in, out, in. And then the outer universe set, the universes within set, is likely going to be in January. So if you have it happen earlier in that year, you could get a big push for limited, have that kind of limited excitement carry on into the other Spotlight series and other Magic Cons, and then go into a Worlds invite. So if you have qualifications all over 2026, I think that's going to be a net positive for that. But we also have to be aware of the fact that hopefully this isn't just a cash grab to purchase more product, and hopefully we don't make pick 2 and a universes within set be that. Because if that's the format for the limited environment, I think a lot of people will riot. I think there'll be a lot of negative opinions, which, I mean, whatever. As long as the universes beyond set that they pick, if they pick a universes beyond set and it's not a universe within set, as long as it's a full set like Final Fantasy or Lord of the Rings, where you get to draft it out completely, it's not pick 2 draft, I think that's fine. I think that's going to be okay. If it's a pick 2 draft, this is a complete failure. I'm calling it right now. If this limited event is pick 2 draft in a small set, this tournament is a bunk tournament and we should not be paying for this. It would be an absolute failure of an event and an organized event for Wizards of the Coast to push onto players to get them to play more and purchase more product, for it to just be pick 2 on a small universes beyond set. Just saying. That's where I'll kind of end off with that. Going into the rest of it, this slideshow you already kind of saw, but 2 minutes of a organized play announcement and 1 hour commander checks out. Because when it comes to the announcement that we heard yesterday, it's not wrong. And okay, a little bit hyperbolic here. I believe it was like 40 to 45 minutes of commander, maybe 2 to 5 minutes of organized play announcement, but the proportions are there, right? This was a quick announcement. In fairness, we didn't have a lot of information. This is something coming down the line in 2027. I imagine they want to spend time kind of building hype for this. And I appreciate the fact that they do want to let us know about this earlier to get people more excited for these limited events that are coming up, and to look out for these limited events. And especially because, the Hall of Fame, they can use their yearly PT invite. Does this mean that we get a return of the Hall of Fame? Just saying. It could be pretty cool. There's a lot to look out for. I actually do appreciate the timing of this. It kind of sucks there wasn't more information, that Huey Jensen had to just come in, throw in a quick little announcement. He's excited for something like this, and he made a joke about how, yeah, this is something that he put out there to just get, leave Wizards to just compete in something like this, blah, blah, blah. There is a lot of positive to this, but the conspiracy is kind of worth it. I also wanted to point out this joke by Haven here. I've seen some complaints about the overall tournament structure, and there may be too many events right now, but it seems pretty limited to me. I had a good chuckle. This was a fun one. I had a good chuckle. I didn't even leave a like. I'll leave a like. I had a good chuckle at this one. Let me know in the comment section down below if you can appreciate a good limited joke. Come on, someone let me know. One of the last things I want to point out here is that, chasing the Magic Pro Tour dream, here's a clear look at 2025-2026 competitive pathway from RCQs all the way to World, which I appreciate from Frank Cartston. Magic competitive might be a complicated thing But Frank Carson was able to highlight, some of the things that we're getting in these little cycles, how we can qualify, the path all the way through. I will link this down below, all the way leading up to Magic World Championship and kind of the end August, September, whatever of 2026. So there are cycles. There are multiple ways for you to qualify. I wish there was some more Pioneer involved in this, but you can't have it all. The last thing I want to mention that I think is worth it here is the fact that K-pop Demon Hunters toys, figures, and games are coming as Netflix announces a co-master deal with Mattel and Hasbro. Folks, remember the announcement that they, in the Hasbro earnings call where they talk about all of the money that Final Fantasy made, $200 million in one day versus $200 million in 6 months for Lord of the Rings? Okay. Remember how they said they're open to everything, including K-pop collaborations? That's actually, they word for word, verbatim, in the earning call, said they're open to K-pop collaborations. Folks, the secret layer of K-pop Demon Hunters is imminent. Universes Beyond is not going away, especially when Netflix is partnering with folks like Hasbro and Mattel. This show is getting pushed. We're not only getting a sequel of K-pop Demon Hunters likely, and more down the line, we are probably getting secret layers for the first one and secret layers and everything in combination with it. I don't know if there's enough in here to actually get a full set, because that would be the correct way for Wizards to make more money. Because with the current price model or the current distribution model of secret layers, this doesn't actually, it's better if this is print to demand, because this will get bought out. The K-pop stans will buy the living crap out of this. And if there ever was a reason to change the business model, it would be this set, and it would be the funniest capitalist move in the world, because they're only doing it for money. Because it would make sense. Let's get this product out there. Let's have as many people as you want purchase it. And I think this is a great, as I mentioned, just to double down on it, I think K-pop Demon Hunters is a fantastic way for them to finally switch back to the old model, because they know that there's likely not enough information in that one Netflix movie to go about a whole set, but there is enough for a secret layer. So if we make it print to demand, they'll be making money head over heels. Folks, secret layers are Wizards of the Coast ways it's their way to sell singles directly to you without the distributor and the LGS. Why not finally make that change so that the K-pop fans can make them some money? Otherwise, these cards are probably going to be worth thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, probably in some way, shape, or form, especially if you make them mechanically unique, which they likely will be. And especially if you make them insanely powerful in Vintage, Legacy, potentially Pauper if there are commons, and Commander. They will be expensive. They'll be really, really, really goddamn expensive. K-pop Demon Hunter, folks. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. How are you feeling about the limited tournament, the Pro Tour-like event that we got announced by Huey Jensen yesterday? How are you feeling about the K-pop Demon Hunter and some of my conspiracies? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And hopefully, I hope that a lot of better changes are coming to Magic the Gathering as of these announcements. As I said, net positive change for competitive Magic.